I'm Brian Payne, and I have a company here in Dallas that does AI upgrades for traffic lights. I love Progress Texas because I love a lot of the coverage that y'all are able to get on social media. It's pretty impressive, and I support a lot of those initiatives. Definitely need more people to be educated about that kind of thing. Before I knew about Progress Texas, there's a lot of things that I didn't know about, so I'm happy to learn. Knowledge is power.
It's Thursday, April 3rd, 2025, and this is the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch, rapid response on the breaking news stories Texas progressives need to know. I'm Chris Mosier. America is waking up to uncertainty this morning as Donald Trump has launched a massive monkey wrench into the global economy, and we're all likely to feel an impact, especially in a place like Texas where international trade is central to business. Joseph Morton at the Dallas Morning News says Trump's broadside of tariffs announced yesterday are drawing mixed reactions from the people representing you and me in D.C., and as you'd expect, mostly along party lines. Republican Roger Williams of Willow Park, for example, is right in line with the Dear Leader's idea that tariffs will correct existing trade disadvantages and boost American jobs. Democrats see all of this as a grotesquely misguided gamble that's likely to raise prices and possibly send our nation into a recession. Trump calls this Liberation Day. Democratic Congressman Lloyd Doggett says, quote, Trump liberates dollars from your wallet to pay for his tariff tax hike. He liberates some small business owners from their businesses as costs surge from his new tariffs, unquote. The U.S. Senate voted last night 51-48 to approve a resolution blocking Trump's tariffs on Canadian products. Both Texas Senators John Cornyn and Ted Cruz voted against it, but 4 Republicans did cross the aisle to vote in favor. Its prospects in the House are looking dim. Madeline Lambert at KSAT TV in San Antonio says that city in particular looks likely to be one of the most heavily impacted cities due to its extensive trade in the aerospace, auto, and energy sectors. Mayor Ron Nirenberg is deeply concerned for his city, saying, quote, we're seeing it now in the cost of goods and services, and ultimately manufacturing is one of the leading employment sectors in San Antonio. This is going to hurt American families, unquote. I'm afraid we're all in for a ride here. Let's hang on and stick together, y'all. Sticking with our finances here for one more, an important piece of legislation that you'll have a chance to vote on. It would appear the Texas Legislative Progressive Caucus and Executive Director Cody Metter have issued a statement in opposition to House Joint Resolution 4. This is a constitutional ban on taxes on securities market operators and transactions that, in their words, amounts to a forever tax break for stockbrokers. It arrives right as Texas has launched our own regional major trading platform, the Texas Stock Exchange. Pure coincidence, I'm sure. This week, HJR 4 managed to pass the House with the required 2/3 vote for a constitutional amendment over the opposition of less than half of the 62 Democrats in the chamber. The TLPC statement reads in part, quote, HJR 4 is a blatant Wall Street handout at a time when working families across Texas are pleading for relief from soaring housing costs to underfunded schools and unaffordable health care. House leadership has made its priorities crystal clear: protect wealth, not people, unquote. Again, over half of House Dems voted yes on this on Tuesday, which has us curious. This is one to look into because you're going to get to vote on it most likely. Constitutional amendments go to the voters. It's expected to pass the Senate easily and will likely be on the November 2025 ballot. We'll be diving in on this in the meantime for sure. Every vote counts, right? And one Democratic vote in the Texas Senate just made a pretty major statement. Kayla Guo at the Texas Tribune says a vote was held yesterday whether or not to approve Governor Abbott's nomination of Justin Berry, a senior Austin Police Department officer who had been indicted on charges of aggravated assault during the George Floyd racial justice protests in 2020, to serve a second term on the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement, which sets standards for police conduct and training. There were just enough Democratic votes to deny this nomination if they had stayed united, but one broke ranks. Senator Juan Chuy Hinojosa of McAllen voted yes, and the nomination was confirmed. Afterwards, Hinojosa said, quote, I didn't feel there was any criminal behavior that would rise to the level of rejecting his nomination. It's not an easy one, but at the same time, I'm not here to second guess the governor, unquote, and OMG. Berry was accused of shooting a Black Lives Matter protester in the face with the so-called less lethal round, leading to a major disfiguring injury in 2020, and he's back in this key oversight position over all of our state's law enforcement through the summer of 2027. Senator Hinojosa has appeared on our podcast in strong unified opposition to school vouchers, but oy vey. Speaking of vouchers, that previously canceled session of the Texas House Public Education Committee to review the latest revisions to Republican plans to redirect your tax money to the owners of private schools is back on today. This is the proposed $1 billion spending cap for the first 2 years of a school voucher program, along with a boost to the per-student basic allotment of nearly $400 that we mentioned a few days ago. CBS Austin talked to Josh Blank at the Texas Politics Project. He says he expects vouchers to pass the House. We're putting together a podcast discussion tomorrow on Governor Abbott's refusal to allow the citizens of Houston's Congressional District 18 to elect a successor to the late Congressman Sylvester Turner. That story has continued to develop. NBC News reports that House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries of New York is threatening to file a lawsuit against Governor Abbott for holding off on calling a special election to fill the seat, which Democrats see as a deliberate move designed to help pad the GOP's razor-thin majority in the chamber. I take inspiration from Senator Cory Booker's record-setting marathon speech earlier this week, and I say, Congressman Jeffries, the time for threats is past. It's time to take action now. Walk the walk. Finally, what's looking like the most significant national protest yet against Trump 2.0 is coming up on Saturday. April Rubin at Axios says this weekend's Hands Off event is expected to be the largest single-day protest since Donald Trump took back the White House, as Americans of many different walks of life have found themselves appalled and in growing numbers directly personally affected by Trump's reckless experiments with our economy and our freedoms, flooding the zone, as it were, moving fast and breaking things. The byproduct of such a wide-ranging assault on the country is that there are widespread casualties, and a potentially historic pushback is coming on Saturday in cities and smaller towns as well, all across the continental U.S. More than 1,100 rallies, visibility events, and meetings are scheduled in all 50 states at state capitals, federal buildings, congressional offices, city centers, and more. Over 250,000 people have said they're planning to attend. The early protests immediately after last November, you may have been like me and maybe had some doubts about who was organizing. Well, in this case, there's direct involvement and collaboration with well-established advocacy orgs, including the Human Rights Campaign, Indivisible, Planned Parenthood, the Center for LGBTQ Economic Advancement and Research, and more. Yvette Orozco at the Houston Chronicle says a major theme of the protest is a push for Trump and Elon Musk to stop their wanton dismantling of federal agencies and programs that serve middle and working class Americans, specifically the targeting of health care, Social Security services, civil rights programs, and education. Democratic State Reps Lauren Ashley Simmons and Lizzie Fletcher are expected to speak at the Houston event. James Ranovich at the Austin Chronicle says the state capitol will be the site of Austin's hands-off rally, naturally. As he puts it, the protest is to, quote, peacefully communicate to the billionaires in power and their cronies to not mess with our constitutional rights and the tenets of our country. Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and other government services are sacrosanct, and those who threaten it will be resisted. Sounds like a stance everyone can get behind, unquote, and absolutely. We're convening a group of hands-off organizers representing a handful of the many Texas cities and towns that are participating this afternoon. Watch for that conversation on this podcast feed later today. Progress Texas is proud to welcome the aforementioned San Antonio Mayor Ron Nirenberg as our guest for a live podcast taping and fundraising party on Tuesday, May the 6th in San Antonio, and you are invited. We look forward to a long overdue and fun get-together with y'all at our Party for Progress in San Antonio. Mark that date again, Tuesday, May 6th. Live pod taping with Mayor Ron Nirenberg and good fun with you. See the show notes for a link to get your tickets right now. Our mission at Progress Texas is to counter the conservative disinformation machine, but they far outmatch us in funding. Oil and tech billionaires and religious right-wing activist groups spend a lot of money keeping their audiences in the dark. If you've come to appreciate the light we shine on important political news in Texas on a regular, ongoing basis, please know that our regular, everyday listeners are the backbone of our funding here. If that's you, we could use your support as a monthly contributor, and no amount is too small. Go to progresstexas.org/donate. Thanks so much to Susan Rodriguez, Kelly Craven Sharp, and Steve Lemons, all of whom have joined the team lately. We appreciate all of you very much. That's the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch for this Thursday, April 3rd, 2025. Links to all these original stories can be found in our show notes. Progress Texas is a nonprofit, rapid response media organization promoting progressive messages and actions. While campaigns come and go, we're the permanent home for progressive media and action in the Lone Star State. I'm Chris Mosier. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great day. We'll see you again tomorrow morning.